Hey, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. That is actually the Marathon Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. That's right, Marathon Monday. Do you know that the Marathon Monday actually kicked off in 1897 and it only had 18 participants in the very first one in 1897? All right, well, that's happening, and that's kicked off. It was kind of interesting the way they do that. You know, there are different times. Well, let me get into that in a second. Good morning, or rather, good afternoon, as we do again. This is the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Anytime over the next hour. You can also text us at 617-297-8388 or email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. And you can also listen to us on the TuneIn app. That's right. Just punch in WCRN if you don't already have it saved, which is a shame if you don't. So just do that now. Download the app or the program. I guess it's called an app if you don't have it. Seconds to do that. Punch in WCRN, and we're live streaming everywhere. All right. I am actually broadcasting from a remote, non-disclosed location. The home studio. Jazz is fine. The board. Jazz, you can hear me fine?
And I can hear you perfect, Joe.
There you go. Okay, we're like 14 miles away. But let's see how this works out today. So far, so good, Jazz. Right?
Seems to be working great.
All right, guys. So 508-871-7000. Oh, I am live streaming. We are doing that. So if you check the Facebook page, Twitter page at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, you're good there. YouTube page at Joe Mangiacotti Show, and even on Twitch TV at Joe M Show, and I think even on LinkedIn. All right, so Boston Marathon, different times, and I'm only going to bring this up because as I was looking at this, it struck me it kind of ties into another discussion happening throughout the nation, mainly coming out of Florida, of course. But you have the different start times, right? You got the military march early in the morning, the day of the race. That's like at 6 a.m. part of the ceremony. But men's wheelchair starts at 9:02, women's wheelchair at 9:05. Handy cycles in those duos that they ride, those are at 9:30. Then the professional men, and the only distinction here is in the marathon, anybody, you qualify for it and you can run if you just feel like doing a marathon. Okay, sometimes they have people who just show up, and after the race gets going, they just jump in and run the track too. But professional men and professional women are people who have achieved a certain ranking in races, and they've run other marathons, and they get to be considered professional entrants. So the professional men kick off at 9:37, professional women at 9:45 a.m. Now, I only point that out because there's such this big discussion about transgender women and transgender men. Now, usually it's about transgender women playing in sports. Leah Thompson, swimming, right? We've got other transgender women wanting to play as men, as they're transitioned into men. And a lot of people have to keep coming back to this point. Then why is there a difference in the classifications in sports? Why are there men's leagues and women's leagues? Why did Title IX have to exist to make it equal? The interesting thing is because someone like Leah Thomas, she did the 2 years, but she did all that as she decided that she was going to transition to female, but she did that in her teens, and she decided to play as a female. And so she said, okay, what are the rules? And she looked at the rules, and the rules are such that you need to have certain amount or lack, I guess, of testosterone and so forth. And she did the 2-year wait, rather. But the thing about that, at that point in the development of a human being, she had already had the muscle mass, the larger lungs, the bigger heart, the bigger body, right? That is a larger mass and muscle mass to move through the water, bigger hands to swim with, all of these things that come into play. So why does the Boston Marathon have different start times for men and women. They're a woke organization, from what I can tell. Not ridiculous, but they're woke. So the question becomes, do we still need to have the different categories? Men competition, female competition. Because an interesting thing, if we dig up fossils, we find a find in South America somewhere, or Egypt, or in the mountains of the United States, where the original Native Americans occupied that land. And these bones can be a few years old, 100 years old, 1,000 years old. When we drill down into the DNA of the bone, we can determine if that was a male or a female. Doesn't matter what they thought they were, what they felt they were. It doesn't, right? What is it that we hear when have a conversation with the transgender person, and what do they tell you? God made a mistake and put me in the wrong body. Maybe they don't believe in God. Nature made a mistake. There's a mistake. I'm in the wrong body. Mentally, their soul, they feel that they're a female in a male's body. But they're saying, I'm in a male's body. They recognize and understand it's a male body. So how do we address this issue that isn't going away anytime soon about male and female sports and wherever else it may bring us? So the BAA, Boston Athletic Association, runs the Boston Marathon, has distinct start times for every one of their classifications, including one for men and one for women. So they recognize women and men are different. And if somebody comes to the BAA and they say, I'm transgender woman, and I'd like to run in the women's category, and 2 years ago, they may have presented as a man, and they're grown, and they have all of those other things that the male body, by God or nature,
You got Mark on the line about the Boston Marathon.
It doesn't matter that they have the physical mass, muscle mass, lungs, I've said it, lungs, hearts, all that goes with it. That's just the way it works, folks. That is just the way it works. All right, so that's the Boston Marathon off and running. I hope you had a chance to watch it too, or listen to this while you're watching it on the TV. Hate to send somebody off to do something else. It's a no-no in radio, by the way. So 508-871-7000 is how you join the conversation here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show on the Monday edition from AM 830 WCRN. We've got a phone call. Let's go to the phones. Mark in Worcester is waiting patiently. Good afternoon, Mark. You look marvelous.
You look marvelous as well. I get feedback.
All right, I don't know.
I think that's just because of the way that Joe is on today.
Oh, it might have to be with the way I'm coming in then.
I believe so.
Try it now. I'm not.
I called up Hank Stoltz this morning, and I predicted the race would be won by a Kenyan. Lo and behold, who wins the race? A Kenyan.
You're good, Mark. What can I tell you? You're good. More to the point?
More to the point, this guy weighs about 130 pounds, soaking wet. I guarantee his heart is probably 30% larger than yours.
And
his lung capacity is probably 30% larger than yours.
And let's put it this way. I bet you his diet
has a genetic advantage.
Yeah. His diet is probably very different than you and I. He was brought up and raised in,
I doubt it.
Well, he was raised in terrain where he was able to, under harsh conditions, practice and run mountains and heat. He comes to Boston. He's running in 50-degree weather, not harsh conditions. He's only moving 130 pounds through the air. Yeah. So, I mean, he has advantages, and they always have, right? How many Kenyans or people from certain parts of the earth, the planet, have won the Boston Marathon because of those things? So should we have a category just for Kenyans? Is that the
It's
suggestion?
that way because they win all the time.
So they win all the time. Give them their own category so that the old good boy from Boston or New York could win at least something.
They're not going to win.
Well,
Not against the Kenyan.
right. But that's the point. Do we change things? Do we change things? If transgender women continue to run, are they going to always do better than the biological males?
Did a transgender win the marathon?
I have no idea. I've been stuck in an office in a car. Who
No, it was
who
a
won?
man. Trust me, it was a man.
Yeah. So actually,
Kenyan
we'll look
man.
up in the break. I can look up. We'll look up, and Jazz, maybe we can help me. We'll look up and see who won, because I've been in the car all day and shuffling people around and rushing to
Yeah,
get
all
back
right.
to the
Have a
studio.
good one.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Mark. All right. I don't know who won the marathon, and we'll look it up in the break. I don't know how far we are away from the break. About a minute, I guess, Jazz, right? So
Yes.
what we'll do is I'll try to see if I can find the winners of that. I'd like to know who did win. And what the thing is, right? Because this morning, that when I did catch before I had to leave the house early this morning, I'm watching, and it was interesting because they said something that I had brought up the other day on the show, is that we're back to normal. And I mean, normal prior to the pandemic shutting everything down. Normal security issues, since, of course, the marathon bombing are in place. But what I'm saying is no masks. There's none of that going on. You don't have to show a test or anything like that. That's all normal. You're able to go to Hopkinton Square and chill out and do everything without all of the pandemic protocols in place. So that was nice and good to see. But we do have to take a break here in the Monday edition, special Marathon Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us. Back on the other side.
Testimonials.
Yeah, so that's got to be because your programming is coming through the audition.
One benefit is improved sleep. During sleep,
Well,
your immune system releases proteins called cytokines.
I think what it is
infections, inflammation,
is
and
no, I'm
stress.
trying to
That's
figure
right,
this out.
proteins
Oh,
you need to fight infections,
for me to be able to
inflammation, and
stream
stress
it,
just
I
when you
have
need
to
it
turn
most.
his
With
microphone
100%
up,
satisfaction guarantee.
so the
Go to
sound goes down the line to
cdbionow.com,
our
because
stream,
now is the time
restream,
to improve and protect
and
your
maybe
health.
that's
Yeah, that
sending it
makes sense.
back down through the board too.
cdbionow.com.
Expert Agents
So that's
Realty
gonna
is
be
a
we're gonna have to
family-owned
figure
real
that one
estate
out.
firm with offices in 2 locations, Northborough and East
Gonna have to
Longmeadow.
figure that
For
one out.
25 years, Mark
Gonna have to
Rooney,
figure out a
owner
way.
and
Yeah,
broker
honestly,
of
huh?
Expert
We're gonna have to
Agents
figure a
Realty,
way
has
what I
focused
can
on
do
providing
instead of
buyer and seller
intercepting
clients
the
the
audio
highest level
feed
of
for the
service in
live
industry. A
streaming
licensed real estate
from the
broker,
board
Mark has served
itself.
hundreds and
Maybe I
hundreds of
tap
properties
into the
for
headphones
clients
so
in the
that
Metro West
what
and Worcester
goes
County
down
area.
on
Specializing in
live
residential
stream
sales,
is what I allowed
single-family
in my
condominiums,
headphone. You know what I'm saying?
multifamily homes, and land. Working
Yeah,
with all
that might
types
work.
of buyers and sellers, including first-time buyers, retirees, investors,
You're
and
recording,
builders.
right?
Being a full-service broker means handling
Yes,
every
of course.
aspect
All
of
right.
the buying
And it
selling
sounds clear
process.
and good.
Working with
You
a team of
sound like
local
you in the
lenders,
room with
attorneys,
So far,
me.
and
everything
other
sounds
industry
great, other
professionals
than
to
the
help
rebar
ensure
that
a
we were
smooth
getting.
buying and selling process. Call Mark today at 508-393-3383 and put the power of experience to work for you in your search for a new home.
Spring is in the air, and it's full speed ahead for your Worcester Red Sox. And tickets are on sale now. Enjoy unique bobbleheads, Unibank fireworks, and magical moments for your family on the field. Visit BlueSox.com or call 508-500-8888. No worries at Fuller Park. We'll see you opening day, April 12th.
Good morning, folks, and happy Easter to you. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and I'm wishing you a very happy holiday. And since it is Easter, I'll be spending it with family and friends, as you will too. But I want to thank you for joining me. Hey, Jazz, I think that's an old play. That was a replay for Sunday, Jay. Jazz? On a replay. Enjoy your day. All right, welcome back to
Jazz.
the special Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show.
Jazz.
I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Okay, it sounded like Sunday's replay kicked in. That's
Yes,
what was
and I
going on.
turned that off.
All right, so we got that up. But we back and we're good and we're live. I'm Joe Mangiacotti for this Marathon Monday special edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Only special because it's Marathon Monday. I'm here every Monday at 1 o'clock. Also, it's unique because I am coming to you from my home studio, which was closer to the marathon in time to get back to broadcast time. So anyway, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. All right. So moving along, Boston Marathon up and running, great. But we have a serious problem, folks. The DHS report, Department of Homeland Security, has let out the March report. 221,000, think about this, 221,000 illegal immigrants were encountered at the southwest border in the month of March. This has been an issue and a problem that we've been talking about for a while, but it really, it's not funny. It's not, another 100,000 came, that kind of thing. This is getting serious. The same number of people that are in some major cities, the population of cities and towns throughout the country are coming in 1 month. This shock to the system, it can't be tolerated for a year and a year and a year and year on end. It can't happen. We are a nation that allows 1 million plus people to immigrate to the United States legally, the right way. Over 1 million people a year. It's not like we don't accept people, that we don't want people to come to our country, because guess what? When good people come to our country, we get better. We get better. We get more brain power. We get more labor. We get more ideas. We get stronger families. It's a good thing. But when you have hundreds of thousands of people with no vetting, we have no idea what their health situation is, from whether they have COVID-19 to other diseases that we got under control in this country, smallpox, chickenpox, etc. And we don't know what their criminal background is. We don't know what their intentions are. There's no vetting for these people. Vetting is a very important part of the process. So the United States detained a record number of illegal immigrants on its southwest border in March, with arrest numbers reaching the highest point in 2 decades. This is according to court filings, by the way, by officials from the Department of Homeland Security. And for the month of March, DHS reported 221,303 total encounters at the southwest border. This figure combines statistics reported by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, Office of Field Operations, the OFO, which deals with non-citizens seeking to enter at land ports of entry, with statistics from the U.S. Border Patrol, USBP, which apprehends non-citizens seeking to enter between POEs. And we go back to that, points of entry. DHS also reported that we had 123,304 expulsions of non-citizens under Title 42 in March. So remember that. You can round it down to 123. But remember that 123,000 expulsions of non-citizens under Title 42 in March alone, by the way. Now, that's not since Biden took office or 2020. It's just March, folks. And the total detention capacity for the month was approximately 31,715, which combines CBP's holding capacity of 5,935 in the Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention capacity of 25,780. So DHS released 80,116 people into the United States. The court filing is a mandatory monthly report as part of a federal lawsuit filed by Texas, Missouri, against the Biden, I should say Texas and Missouri, against the Biden administration. Meanwhile, right, the administration is planning to rescind Title 42 in May. Now, this was implemented during the Trump administration, Title 42, which allows, now, for the record, Trump didn't invent Title 42. Title 42 was a tool. And we're in the height of a pandemic. And one of the fiduciary responsibilities of the office of the presidency is to protect its citizens. And if we, at the time, we had a virus where there was great debate over its origin, but there wasn't a lot of debate that it was hospitalizing people and killing many. So we didn't know a lot about it, but we were in the middle of it. We're fighting it. We had Operation Warp Speed put into place. We're going to get some vaccines for it. But Title 42 allows the border officials to turn away and remove migrants and asylum seekers that may have communicable diseases, such as COVID-19. But it doesn't say this is just for COVID-19. Communicable diseases, which there are several types. So Title 42 can be applied for other things as well. But this administration wants to rescind Title 42 and take that toolbox out of the Border Patrol's tool chest. And they're very unhappy about that. Gee, do you think? The decision followed the CDC's April 1st statement in which it recommended ending Title 42. But the question that many of us are asking, right? Parents, moms, dads, everybody's asking kind of the same question here. If the danger of COVID-19 and the subsequent strains that we've had have gotten weaker and weaker, and the Omicron was described by many scientists as a really great gift because it was very easily transmitted, but very mild, meaning you got the strain, your body recognized it, it put white blood cells into action, it developed an immunity towards it to fight it, but it wasn't so bad that you were going to get sick, much less die from it. And that kind of was nature's vaccination of the planet, Omicron. Sounds good to me. I'll take that natural immunity over the injection of a synthetic drug any day. I think a lot of people would when they understand it. So if CDC is saying, hey, what we should do is lift this 42. It's not that dangerous. It's okay. There's no reason to turn these people away on that issue. I mean, there's plenty of reason to turn away. They're breaking the law, but that seems not to be the concern of this administration. Why are we still masking children in schools? Why are we still, not only still, but extended the masking on airplanes? If we're saying you can illegally cross the border, enter this country illegally with no vetting, we don't know who you are, and we're going to release you into the wild here, but you, American citizen, who we know who you are, and because we know who you are, we can actually do things to you. You have to stay masked under these circumstances, including the airplane that has one of the most elaborate air circulation and replacement systems ever devised in commercial airliners, where the entire cabin, the air in that entire cabin, is replaced every 6 minutes. But you have to wear a mask under those circumstances. And little children, who are the least to have a problem with this, have got to wear their masks. And I have little great nieces and nephews who are now conditioned to wear a mask. Even though my niece, Mummy, tells him, my little great nephew, you don't have to wear the mask anymore. What about the germs, Mummy? Well, the germs are all gone. Don't have to worry about it. Well, they could come back. They have scared this 5-year-old out of his mind that he has chosen that it is not safe for him and his family to exit their home without being masked up. And that is a horrible thing to see.
2 minutes.
Don't like it at all. In a letter to Biden on April 7th, Senator Cruz from Texas, he stressed that Title 42 is a necessary measure to protect public health and manage challenges that the CBP faces because of exponential increases in border encounters at the southern border. Exponential. This news of the ending of Title 42 in May has just sparked an entire ripple effect of planning and caravans. People are now timing, people in from not just in South America or Central America, but around the globe who get to South America or Central America because they know it's basically, this is the time. The Biden administration is the window we need. We get these reporters, they're talking to these young men and women coming over the border, a lot of young men. Go watch the videos of these buses and the crossings. There are women and there are little kids sometimes, but the majority of the people crossing are healthy young men, which is great for the workforce, but they're exactly the same type of demographics that you want to fight wars and to do other things. Healthy young men. Let's put a pin in that for a moment. They're planning accordingly. The coyotes, the cartels, they're planning accordingly. 508-871-7000. What say you? On the Marathon Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us. Back on the other side in just a moment.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. It's going to be mild this afternoon. Probably remains long sleeve weather for most of you out there, or jacket weather, as we've only got highs in the 50s today under mostly sunny skies. Now later tonight after midnight, we've got heavy rain and wind that roll in, and that will continue into the start of the Tuesday morning commute. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
With 20% back in rewards on color copies from Staples, you can run your business with confidence. The confidence to leave behind presentations that customers will read, not recycle. The confidence to produce color manuals that'll keep your business in the black. The confidence that your financial forecast will no longer be partly cloudy. Show off your business in full color for less at Staples. Now get 20% back in rewards on color presentations, manuals, and copies. Staples, it's pro time. Visit staples.com/20color. Expires 11/4/17. Exclusions apply.
Talk about real estate, mortgages, and the economy on the Drew Mortgage Show, weekdays at noon on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email text Joe on the radio. Most interesting man in the world, Sharks,
Putting you
have a
live.
week dedicated to him. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Marathon Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. What say you? Also, text us at 617-297-8388 or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. If you want to reach the show, don't use that email because I only look at it during the show time. Use the show email. Very simple. joemshow@gmail.com. Very simple. All one word. joemshow@gmail.com. Or use Facebook Messenger, which seems to be the choice of most of you, which is also fine. All right. Moving along here. Inflation is huge. And it's really... Actually, before I get into that, I should mention that Clarence Thomas is back on the bench, by the way, after missing 2 weeks of arguments. He returned to the court's bench on April 18th for the first time since being hospitalized with what the court described as a non-COVID-19 infection. He's 73 years old. He joined the court's 8 other justices as they opened a 2-week session. All right. George H.W. Bush appointee asked the first question during the first case, which deals with whether a Washington state workers' compensation provision can apply to federal contractors without running afoul of the U.S. Constitution. Thomas, the longest-serving member of the court, was admitted to Selby Memorial Hospital in Washington on March 18th after experiencing flu-like symptoms, according to a court spokesperson, and the justice was diagnosed with an infection, treated with intravenous antibiotics, and he's back on the bench. And they stressed that he did not have COVID-19, by the way. So good thing that Justice Thomas is back on the bench. The left would love to see him removed as quickly as possible. How can they have a Republican-appointed justice and a man of color? That just bothers them, doesn't it? All right. I want to get back to the whole issue here of inflation, but more importantly, the silliness of the White House trying to tell us that inflation is not a Joe Biden problem. It's not even a first-class problem. It's a Putin problem, right? I don't know how much that's going. They tried that, and it seemed to lose a lot of its sale power, didn't it? They wanted to shift blame. They actually tried hashtag Putin price hikes. That didn't catch on because they don't get how insulting they are to the Americans' intelligence. They really think that because they say it, we believe it, like they are the Ministry of Truth in George Orwell's books. That if they say it because it's them in the state, and that you are a troublemaker, you're an anarchist, you're an enemy of the state if you don't believe what the state tells you. A country founded on rebelling against the crown, right? The king. Not believing him. Can't make this stuff up. So if you don't believe what the government tells you, then you're obviously a troublemaker, and you're a problem, and you're an enemy of the state, and you need to be silenced. And they have no problem lying through their teeth. And Jen Psaki, whose job it is to speak for the president at the White House, will say things that are just blatantly not true. So Biden is constantly trying to shift the blame in these policy disasters that have caused it. And most of them have been policies that were in place by his former administration. That would be Donald Trump to you and I. Like to stay in Mexico if you're talking about immigration. But the steps he took to hurt the energy production in this country. And Jen Psaki stands up there and says, oh, there's 9,000 contracts out there. Does she actually understand what she's talking about? Does she understand what that means? Does she understand what goes into a rig drilling oil? And that all of the money that's involved. So you have an administration who's trying to blame the speculators, the oil drillers and riggers and oil companies who spend millions of dollars to set these rigs up because there might be oil, and they got to go down 18,000 feet. Then they actually have to drill horizontally, by the way. They don't get it. All while an administration is at war with them and wants to do away with fossil fuels. But we all know that before there was an invasion of Ukraine, gas prices were already soaring. Inflation was soaring. We had the issue with the supply chain crisis, and they weren't fixing it. We've hit this 4-decade high inflation rate. 4 decades. We haven't seen anything like this. And what, 8.5%? And they want to convince us that has nothing to do with Joe Biden. That if we just spent more money, be good little boys and girls, and let them do whatever they think they need to do, it's all going to work out. Well, former Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, President Jeffrey Lacker, said that the supply chain snarls were more of a symptom than a cause of surging inflation. Really? Okay. With the key factor driving up prices being massive government spending on pandemic emergency programs that caused demand to balloon against backdrop of squeezed supply. Government spending. Certain people on the left always thinks the answer is to spend. And Margaret Thatcher has said it the best. The problem with socialism is eventually you spend all of everybody's money. And when the government spends these trillions of dollars, folks, that's not magical money. That's our money. The government is only operating on a percentage of what we generate for wealth and money until they start printing it. But when they start printing it, it chips away at every dollar you have, right? Inflation. So when we have 8.5% inflation for the month, and you make the same amount you made last month, your check is the same amount, but you don't have the same buying power. You just took a pay cut. And that's a tax. According to the article, simple sayings are often misleading. But in the case of the old adage, too much money chasing too few goods is right on target. Right? Very easy. Too much money chasing too few goods is right on target. And what I don't understand, first of all, we have a 500 billion fraud on the PPE money. And that's not all of it. More fraud has been committed on the money that we sent out to businesses and to the schools. And that's taxpayer money that's causing inflation that has been stolen, embezzled, misdirected. And I've said this a million times, folks. When you start talking about this amount of money and someone who has investigated crimes and insurance frauds and scams for their whole career, when you dangle this free money out there, there's always a percentage of it that's going to disappear. It's going to find its way either into somebody's bank account or in the form of somebody's remodeled kitchen or their new pool or car or whatever the case is. And when you times that money, and that might happen if you're dealing with a couple $1 million grant. But when you start talking about trillions of dollars, of course you're going to end up with hundreds of billions of dollars being stolen. And that's not free to us. We're paying for that. First, they're lessening the strength of a dollar by printing more money. And then in that time, they were sending money out to everybody. I mean, everybody, including inmates. Did you know this? Did you know that people incarcerated in our prisons were receiving stimulus checks? Why?
2 minutes.
Why were they receiving? Why did they need stimulus checks? Well, Joe, they probably have a baby mama. Well, the baby mama got her own check. And she got money for the kids. No, that's not why. It's because of a lawsuit out of California, actually. They weren't originally going to get the money. Then a Jamoke in California who's incarcerated sues, and the court says, yeah, I guess that's right. So you got to give the stimulus checks to all the incarcerated people in the country. And then we had people getting these checks who were still working. It didn't change anything for them. In the meantime, we had the moratorium on paying your rent, which I don't understand. If you were still working and then you were getting this money, why couldn't you pay the rent? You had more money, right? The savings went crazy in this time, by the way, because people were saving more money than they ever did before because they were receiving money and they weren't spending it on anything. But we got to take a break here for the fourth and final segment of Marathon Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. So we'll take a break, come back on the other side, wrap this up. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That's how you join the conversation. And don't forget, we're streaming on my social media platforms as well.
Shining Rock Golf Club of Northbridge is a shining example of excellence in golf. Shining Rock Golf Club's highest priority is your golf experience, and their award-winning 18-hole luxury and challenging golf course will deliver. And for shining moments and memorable events, the Shining Rock Golf Club of Northbridge delivers again. Plan your next tournament, fundraiser, or corporate event at Shining Rock Golf Club. Events and budgets of all sizes are welcome. Shining Rock Golf Club Pro Shop, Driving Range, and Bar and Grill are fully open for the season. For the very best in golf, with friendly, experienced service, visit Shining Rock Golf Club of Northbridge, a shining example of excellence in golf. Call 508-234-0400. That's 508-234-0400. On the web at shiningrock.com. Shining Rock Golf Club of Northbridge.
New studies and testimonials are streaming in across the country, describing the many benefits found at CBD Bio Naturals. One benefit is improved sleep. During sleep, your immune system releases proteins called cytokines, needed to fight infections, inflammation, and stress. See for yourself how CBD Bio Naturals may help you fall and stay asleep and assist your immune system with the release of cytokines, proteins you need to fight infections, inflammation, and stress, just when you need it most. Improve your overall health and your state of mind with these CBD you know and trust. Manufactured to the highest standards, made in the USA, shipped for free with a 100% satisfaction guaranteed. The safe and effective, all-natural, non-addictive, holistic alternative that provides proven health benefits. See how it works at cbdbionow.com, because now is the time to improve and protect your health. Visit cbdbionow.com. That's cbdbionow.com.
You are about to undertake a 2-hour experience of eye-opening, I'm expanding, revealing common sense discussion for the common sense
You're
citizens.
listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Powerhouse Station WCRN and our affiliates. To talk to Joe, dial 508-871-7000, and you can text Joe on air in real time at 617-297-8388, or email text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. And now back to the most interesting man in the world. Sharks have a week dedicated to him. Common sense talk for the common sense citizen.
All right, folks. All right, folks. Here we are. We're back for the fourth and final segment on Monday, the Marathon Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. And Jazz, I think the computer probably thought they were going to do a replay for me today. That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, I have all sorts of weird things programmed in for you today. There was a replay programmed in with the live assist, so we would have the breaks anyways for the talk show, and then the AI just played for some reason.
So all I'm hearing is I could have
Right.
stayed at the marathon today. That's the bottom line that I'm hearing. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. What say you? Hey, the Supreme Court today has ruled that it refuses to hear COVID-19 vaccine mandate challenge from teachers. That's right. The U.S. Supreme Court today refused to hear a New York City vaccine mandate challenge from teachers, meaning the mandate will be allowed to stand. The nation's highest court rejected the case without comment or provided no indication that any of the justices would take it. Now, the four teachers who said that COVID-19 related rule violated their right to keep their professions took their appeal to the Supreme Court after a lower court left the New York City mandate in place as well. Now, those teachers previously asked Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who oversees the state, to provide relief that would block the mandate from going into effect, which she also rejected. Now, under the mandate, all the city Department of Education employees who did not comply with getting the vaccine by October 1st would be suspended without pay for up to a year. But the teachers argued that the rule violated their due process rights and blocked them from participating, or rather, I should say, practicing their profession, because of the city's Department of Education is the only agency in the city that publicly hires teachers. Kind of follow that logic, don't you? Well, in February, New York City fired more than 1,400 employees who remained unvaccinated. The policy allows for religious and medical exemptions. Geez, wouldn't you then ask a logical question? How many medical and religious exemptions have been granted? I would. This case presents the court with the opportunity to address a critical constitutional issue where the public school teachers have a fundamental right to practice their profession. This is what the teachers wrote in their little PDF form that they submitted in their petition to the Supreme Court. They wrote, furthermore, the court can provide needed guidance to lower courts regarding the flood of COVID-19 vaccine mandate related cases already pending and expected. But the response, however, New York City attorneys argued that the petitioners made no attempt to explain how the vaccination requirement either prevented or even impaired their ability to work as teachers or paraprofessionals for another employer. Vaccine mandates for public sector and private sector employees were announced in late 21 under de Blasio's administration. And last month, New York City's health commissioner, Ashwin Vasan, I think it is, said the vaccine mandate for private sector workers who work on site will continue indefinitely. The city's mask mandate for children under 5 will also remain intact for the foreseeable future, while we are planning to lift Title 42 for all of the illegal entries into the southern border. This is where people see the disconnect, folks. This is where people have a problem with the government that does things that make no sense. Sometimes you look at it and you think, well, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand doing. And other times you say they know exactly what they're doing because they have some other alternative agenda that we aren't quite sure what it is. We can kind of guess and we speculate a little bit, but we don't exactly know what it is. And before we have to wrap up today's edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, I wanted to also point out that we have a situation with Durham. Yes, we do. We got to keep an eye on this case as it moves along. Right now, Michael Sussman, he's facing a lot of charges. Right, he's been indicted, but Special Counsel John Durham revealed that 5 witnesses who have connections to Clinton campaigns, they are invoking their Fifth Amendment right. They won't cooperate with the investigation. And this is in a recent court filing. And I always like to point this out because for a couple of years, and really for a long time over my career, when I say things, right, people say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. You're just talking points for this. This isn't. The stuff that we talk about now concerning the Clinton campaign, Hillary, the Russian dossier, the phony dossier, the spying on Trump, all of this, it's coming from filings in the federal court. This isn't hearsay or conspiracy theories, or I heard somebody say, or a drunk aide was talking to somebody at a party. These are being pulled directly from the filings in the federal court system, folks. In the motion filed on April 15th, Durham revealed that one unnamed individual, we'll call them Researcher 2, has been given immunity in exchange for his testimony. What did we say a long time ago? What did I tell you? I told you to wait. This is not TV. This is not an episode of 24. This isn't going to get wrapped up in 48 minutes. This is the real world. It takes time, and Durham is going to get there as long as he doesn't get squished. As long as the thumb that's clearly on the scales of justice already doesn't push further and stop this guy in his tracks. Let him do his job, and they got to do it step by step, and they have to do it by grabbing the smaller fish and doing just what I said. They are going to be given immunity in exchange for testimony. And that's how they work their way up the chain. Well, at least 5 other witnesses who conducted work relating to the Russian bank allegations, right? That was all a lie, all phony. They worked very hard to plant all that. And Alpha Bank in Russia and the Trump organization, or Donald himself, had this really secret backdoor communication through this Alpha Bank. And Alpha Bank in Russia is going, what are you talking about? Who are you? They don't know anything. So at least 5 other witnesses who conducted work relating to the Russian bank allegations invoked their rights, or indicated that they intended to invoke their right against self-incrimination, which, of course, we all realize that if you invoke your Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination, it's because if you talked, if you spoke, if you answered questions, you would incriminate yourself. And therefore, there's something there to be incriminated against. See how that works? All right. The names of those 5 individuals were not provided in the filing, although they pertain to former Clinton campaign lawyer, Michael Sussman. Man, is this a guy a bad dude? Who was accused by Durham of lying to the FBI in 2016 when he met with the Bureau's then General Counsel, James Baker, told him that then candidate Donald Trump had a secret back channel with the Russian bank. All put up by Hillary, who is, while this is going on, this meeting is going on, she's got her device, one of her, 35. I don't think this is anything before, well, maybe it's after she smashed all the others and bleach bit them, sledgehammers and all. Because she's waiting to send that now infamous tweet out, right? Because she has Sussman lying to the FBI, going there to say, I got to meet with you, talk to you. I'm not working for anybody. I'm not out here on behalf of a client or anything like that. I'm here for myself, all lying. Because while he's doing that, folks, he's billing the Clinton Foundation for this meeting. Couldn't help himself, right? He's got to get that $800 an hour or whatever it is. So Sussman.
Coming up to the end.
So this is, it's all a lie. All a lie, all a lie. Okay, so the effort in 2016 Bureau, then General Counsel Baker, Donald Trump, Secret Bank, Russia, Sussman has pleaded not guilty, and his lawyers have said Durham's investigation is politically motivated. That's rich. That's rich. And we've said this before, we've pointed this out before, folks. Every time, just about every time you see or hear a Democrat accuse the right or the other side of something, you can be pretty sure that's exactly what they are doing. Okay? You can be pretty sure that's exactly what they are doing. Researcher 2 was granted immunity by the government back in July of 21, about a month before Sussman was indicted. See how that works, okay? The government therefore pursued Researcher 2's immunity in order to uncover otherwise unavailable facts underlying the opposition research that Tech Executive 1 and others carried out in advance of the defendant's meeting with the FBI. These are the people, the techs and so forth, that did all of the backdoor and planning to connect, to create a connection to the Alpha Bank so that he could go to Baker and pretend that they uncovered this and this is all real. Well, Hillary's waiting to put out that tweet that says, Trump has secret backdoor to Russian bank. Isn't that interesting? Well, she's orchestrating the whole darn thing. The whole darn thing. A spokesperson for Rodney Jaffe told news outlets in February that he is Tech Executive 1, mentioned in Durham's filings. And Jaffe was previously in charge of technology firm known as Newstar. So there's still more to this that we have got to get into, folks, but we're running out of time for the Monday edition. But we're going to keep you posted on this because this isn't over, and this is better than a James Griffin novel or any of those guys that write about all of this dark espionage government, secret government, shadow government cover-ups, and this is real, and it's all right in front of you. But this will wrap up Monday's edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show in AM 830 WCRN. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back this week. Don't forget Political Thursday at 10 o'clock. I'm here Fridays and Mondays and Sundays at 6 a.m. Hey, enjoy it. The weather is really nice out. Maybe a sweater or a jacket, but it's beautiful out. Thanks for joining us. And again, don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I. Take care.
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830, WCRN, Worcester.